It's showtime.
Good morning, Vietnam! Welcome to the party, pal!
See you at the party, Richter!
I didn't kill my wife! I don't care!
Get away from her, you bitch!
I'll be back.
I'll be back. You did not going to say that, did you?
What I do have are a very particular set of skills.
To do the binds.
I'm not bad. I'm just drawn that way.
Inconceivable!
Lilu Dallas Multipass.
This is a tasty burger.
Face.
Want to hear the most annoying sound in the world?
Do or do not. There is no try.
Dead or alive, you are coming with me.
I'm the bad guy?
And Hulk, smash.
I can speak with an English accent. Hit the hash pipe and join the National Guard. I could be elected president.
You went over my helmet?
What would you prefer? Yellow spandex?
I know, right?
The list is in the open!
Hey, where are the white women at?
They're digging in the wrong place.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
Are you not entertained?
Second start of the ride. And straight on till morning.
Meow.
You son of a bitch.
21 gigawatts!
Wax on, wax off.
Oh my goodness, I am sporting a tremendous Woody right now.
Bartender is the aristocrat of the working class.
You want to flip 6 3-hole play and you could score.
Cover me.
Dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. On this team, we fight for that itch.
It might be a tumor.
It's not a tumor.
No ticket.
No ticket.
I get older, they stay the same age.
It's not what you know, it's what you can prove.
I'm a dude playing a dude disguised as another dude. He's 15.
I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
Hope is a good thing. Maybe the best of things. And no good thing ever dies.
Good evening, and welcome to the Reel McCoy. I'm your host, Meffistoe, and usually with me, my hetero life mate, oh my feelings. Today, not so much. Do you know those days, those weekends where everything seems to go all right, and then right at the last minute, everything kind of turns into doo-doo dish. Or I don't want to curse right at the start of the show. All right, cool. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Reel McCoy. I'm your host, Meffistoe, and usually with me, my hetero life mate, oh my feelings. What is the Reel McCoy, you might ask? The Reel McCoy Show is your weekly movie podcast where I ask you to go watch a movie, you watch it, come back to us, and we break it down for you. This month of September is our fall classic where we discuss all manner of baseball movies. We started with A Field of Dreams, which was to me the definitive baseball movie, probably of all time. I know it doesn't really have a lot to do with baseball, but it's all about family. It's mostly about family, and I hate that Vin Diesel ruined that kind of sentence to me. Family. Even though I didn't watch that movie, but we move on to a different kind of baseball movie where it's very much about baseball, but a whole different angle. In one of my favorite baseball movies, again, of all time, it's in the pantheon. That's why it's here. It is A League of Their Own. It has one of the most quotable lines in baseball movies of all time, so I kind of had to include it. Now, Mr. Oh My Feelings is alive and well, and he wanted to be on the show, and he might even pop in, but his power went out about an hour before the show. So it's going to be a solo thing today, unless we have some surprise guests. I've sent the link to a few people, but if they haven't watched the movie, sort of it's hard. Let's say it's hard. But if you guys will stay with me, we will enjoy maybe a shorter version if it's a solo, but we will see, because I think the movie is worth it. I have a lot to say about it, so we will begin shortly. We'll say hello to the chat. We'll say hello to Kaladin. We'll say hello to DK and all the lurkers from the Salty Nerd podcast, or the Salty Nerd Saturday show, whatever they want to call it. I know they didn't really do much, really didn't do much pub culture because of all the stuff that is going on. But here on this channel, it's an island within the tumultuous bullshit. And yes, I did curse. The tumultuous bullshit that is going outside that door over there. But inside here, inside this space, we leave politics behind. We leave as much as possible day-to-day life. This is an island of, I want to just enjoy the movie for what it is. And I don't really care the real people and their politics and their actions and what they said or what was going on back then or even today. I don't really care. I'm just trying to enjoy the movie for what it is. Especially this one where there's really no real politics about it, but slightly there is. But it's very much of the 90s. All right, cool. We will start the show like we do every single time with a little segment we like to call, well, not every single time. The first couple of shows did not have this segment, but it is called Behind the Screens.
Sound production, take 2.
Allow me a little bit of leeway there, a little bit, right? I don't want to get caught up in my own words. I'm trying to be honest here. All right, cool. Behind the Screens is where we turn to me and get the lowdown on everything that is behind the scenes, production stuff, all that good stuff that made the movie for what it is. All right, let's start with the beginning. Penny Marshall, the director of this movie, was inspired to actually create this project after she was watching a 1987 TV documentary about the league. It is the AA. I didn't write it down. I did write it down, but later. It's the AAGBL, which was a league that was there from 45 to 53, the real one. I'm not gonna talk about the differences between the real life and the movie. I will touch upon slight, because there are differences. There are a lot of differences, but we'll put that aside. Marshall was surprised because when she started the project, she wanted to involve as many women as possible, because this is a film about women, about their efforts, about let's say, not outright the start of feminism, but the early buds of it before it actually became a movement. And no female writer wanted to come aboard and actually write this movie because it was, quote unquote, a sports film. Imagine the shock and horror of Penny Marshall. However, when the ball got rolling and 2 male writers were hired, she actually worked in tandem with Kelly Kendall and Kim Wilson, who created the TV documentary, which inspired this whole thing. When they got the ball rolling and they started casting, there were 2,000 actresses going for the roles, for auditions. And it was for all of the teams, not just the main actresses, but you see a lot of actresses going through. We'll get to that in a moment. Among those people who went into auditions was Courtney Cox, Elizabeth Perkins, and supermodel extraordinaire Cindy Crawford. And we all know her one movie, and we're kind of like, yeah, we're good. All the actresses were forced to show baseball equanimity, as in at least some athleticism, before actually making it into the sort of close to the final cut. Let's just say that. Apparently, some of them actually came to the auditions with ballet shoes. Now, put that thought in your head and hold it, because we'll get to Gina Davis in a little bit. And hello, Kilikioki. I saw you. Welcome. Enjoy yourself. The first actress that was like the first choice to play Dottie was actually Demi Moore. But by the time the ball got rolling to, happens, pre-production and all that stuff, Demi Moore got pregnant and she couldn't do it. So she kind of dropped out. Like, it's pre-production. The one that replaced her was Deborah Winger. And Deborah Winger was into like full-on training, which I'll get to in a moment. And about a month before shooting started, which was well into training, there was a lot of disagreements with Penny Marshall about the character. Plus, Deborah Winger had a massive reservation of actually casting Madonna into the movie. Apparently, she protested against it for some reason. I don't know why. I couldn't find any reason. And I saw a 20-minute interview with Penny Marshall, which was very enlightening, by the way. And she said that Madonna was surprisingly well at both the acting and the baseball, which she didn't understand why it bothered people. She didn't say Deborah Winger's name, but I'm guessing she meant her. So Gina Davis came to audition. It was a very late replacement. She auditioned at Penny Marshall's backyard. Now, her agent didn't tell her to not wear her heels because she, like I said, some went with the ballet shoes. Hold on. Yes. Good night. Good night, Father. Good night. Wait. Oh, not this. Where's it? Father. Yeah. That's my girl. So she went with high heels to the audition. However, apparently she was very athletically gifted, at least enough to get the role. And she actually just played catch with Penny Marshall, and she impressed her. Now, when she went to the training, that's where stuff kind of really happened and kind of solidified her role. We'll get to that when we get to the training. Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks's role was not meant for Tom Hanks. It was actually meant for Jim Belushi, but he dropped out at some point. So Penny Marshall, who worked with Tom Hanks on Big, tapped him in, and he came in. He read for the role. Penny Marshall was happy with him, so he got casted. The thing about Hanks is, at the time, he had a series of flops. After Big, he had, I think, 4 movies or 3 movies that all of them bombed. So I think Bonfire of the Vanities was one of them. I think Joe Against the Volcano was one of them. And there's another one. I don't remember what the name was, but he was really on the downturn. And this movie really raised his stock, so much so that he got cast to Philadelphia, which led to an Oscar, and to Forrest Gump, which led to a back-to-back Oscar. You know, some things kind of work as they should. And also, one of the things that kind of solidified his, remember, he was transitioning from a comedic actor into a more serious actor. And it kind of not defeats the point, but it kind of is a good measurement of the guy, because they told him to gain weight, and he did so. He put on some 30 pounds just to make sure he looked like a guy who was just a has-been and an alcoholic. And it wasn't the first time he was asked to put on weight. That was, it is the first time he got put... It is the first time that he put on weight for a role. The second time was Castaway. in order to differentiate the castaway him and the fat, overweight, out of shape guy that he used to be. But yeah, goes to show that if you're committed to something, that you can get picked. Good afternoon, One Punch Man. Welcome to the show. Let's continue. Rosie O'Donnell originally tried out for the role of Marla Hooch, but after Marla Hooch's, I have to pull on the cast. A League of Their Own cast. Full cast. Megan Cavanaugh, who got the role of Marla Hooch, after Megan Cavanaugh got the role of Marla Hooch, Penny Marshall didn't want to give up on Rosie O'Donnell because she liked her comedy. So what she did, she actually created the part of Doris Murphy, because not only did Rosie impress Penny with her comedy, she also impressed her with her baseball skills, which Penny was very adamant to make sure all the girls play baseball as well as they could because they were on camera so much. John Lovitz as what's the name of the guy? Ernie Capadino. John Lovitz, his entire role of Ernie Capadino was created for him because, again, Penny Marshall liked his particular style of sarcastic comedy, and that's how he got the role. The whole "Will you shut up?" as the cow mooed in the background was completely ad-libbed. Now the cow mooed just because she was going into labor, and later on, when the calf was born, the calf was named Penny after Penny Marshall. Gary Marshall, who played Harvey, was a very last-minute call because Penny couldn't find anybody to fulfill that role. It's not a big one. It's essentially 3 scenes, roughly speaking, and she tapped her brother. It's not the first time that she tapped her brother, and wasn't the last as well. But that's not neither here nor there. Hollywood nepotism. All right, now for the baseball thing. Marshall it was really important for her, for every single lady, every single girl, every single woman on all of the teams could genuinely play baseball. All of the girls who were picked from the 2000 that got auditioned underwent a 7.5 months of training, which included 8 hours a day, 6 days a week of training. Now, you might imagine Gina Davis coming in at the last month, and she wasn't up to par with all the girls. No. Apparently, Gina Davis, not only on the first week or two, surpassed every single girl on the cast who was there for months. By the end of the training camp, she was the best player on the roster. That was the actors roster, which is absolutely fucking amazing. So the whole Dottie being the best player on the team kind of was really true about Gina Davis as well. In a minute. A little bit of liquid. All right. Everybody's enjoying themselves? I am. That's fun. I do, when it, side note for the entire show, I really do enjoy going into the deep weeds of how movies came to be, especially movies that I've watched numerous times. I always find these little pieces of information, or when All My Feelings comes up with his notes and stuff, he always comes up with stuff that I couldn't find and I didn't know about, which is always amazing because it makes me really fall in love with these kinds of movies. Even if like the notes are like terrible stuff happened. It's like, you know what? It made the movie a little bit better for me. But that's just me. Okay, so Wrigley Field was the stand-in for Harvey Field. It is the only real baseball MLB field that was shot for the movie. It was in the scene of the training because the rest of them is like it's out in the outback. We'll get to that in a second. In terms of differences between the movie and real life, like I said, there are a few. One of the most interesting one is Harvey, the guy that Gary Marshall played. In real life, it was actually is it Alfred Wrigley? It wasn't a chocolate guy. It was a gum chewing guy, and he was the one who was responsible for the league and how it went. And he didn't need convincing continuing in the league until it was like really there was nobody going to see the league. That's what kind of flopped and ended. In terms of the baseball fields that they use, the Rockford Peaches and the Racine field, there were 2 locations in rural Indiana that were a replacement for those fields, and essentially a lot of money went into like Indiana locals and businesses while they were shooting there, because they just needed people, which evidently they were not paid, but the businesses and the influx of people going to see the shoot really helped out the local community. The house, the inside of the house where the girls were staying, the Peaches were staying, was a house in I think it was Huntington, Kentucky, but it was definitely Kentucky. The baseball games. Now, I said there were lots of extras. They were not paid. Lots and lots and lots of extras, by the way. About 1,400 unpaid extras were used in some of those games. But the baseball games were shot. The wide shots of people playing were actually games that were played front to back regularly. 9 innings, all the good stuff. And then they added in the focus thing, like when you see just one player just grabbing a ball, that's all like small shots here and there. And you can tell because the sun doesn't look right. Like it sometimes the game looks like it's mid-afternoon and the girl catches the ball is like midday or even morning. So there are small discrepancies, but really, it was not a big deal. Now, Madonna, there's a moment where I think it's the first game where there's no lineup and Jimmy's like completely drunk off his rocker and totally he's not there except for the P, and everybody turns to Dottie. It's like, okay, you do the lineup. And she tells May okay, you're on like center field. This is because Madonna was supposed to be where Rosie O'Donnell was, which is third base, but she couldn't, in the training, she couldn't really play third base. So they just moved her out to the outfield. Now, if you don't know baseball at all, that says nothing to you, but within the confines of Penny Marshall trying to keep everything as legit as humanly possible, this is a big deal. At least for her. For the game itself, but for her. Which leads me to this. Most actresses did their own stunts. So when you see like ladies dive into a base, and if they slide into a base, all that stuff was done by the actresses that were hired. That's why they hired everybody, and that's why they got trained for about 7.5 months. Except for one thing. Gina Davis did not do the sliding split. It was her stunt double. She could do the split, but she couldn't do the slide to go with it. So Penny Marshall just, tacked between the two and then replaced one with the other. The regular movie magic. However, the stunt where Dottie catches the ball behind her back, that was the real Gina Davis because her stunt double kept dropping the ball, which I found hilarious. Now, along with all the stunts and the slides and everything, there were bruises. All of the bruises were real. Renee Coleman, who plays Alice, that had a massive bruise on her thigh, that was a real bruise, and it took about a year to heal, which is absolutely insane. Rosie O'Donnell could actually throw. There's a shot where she throws 2 baseballs. She actually did that. She learned that trick from a real life AAGBL player who was on set every so often. The uniform and the gear were absolutely authentic. And it was not comfortable for all the actresses because it's heavy wool and it was very, very hot at most days. And it was rough to play with. Like to catch a ball with the mitts that don't have a web. It's rough. It's hard. It's harder than the webbed ones for sure. But Penny Marshall wanted to keep it within the time frame and make it look real as much as humanly possible. Because the extras were unpaid and they were there for long periods of time. Remember, they shot like real games. They had 3 camera setups and they shot everything as real as possible. So people were there for 8-10 hours unpaid. So when there was downtime, Rosie O'Donnell came out and did some stand-up. Remember, she came from a stand-up background. And Tom Hanks did I don't know if he actually did stand-up. I know he did stand-up on Punchline, but he doesn't come from a stand-up background per se. But he entertained the crowd as well. Now, 2 last things. The original cut was 4 hours long. The movie is 2 hours. The original cut was 4 hours long. There were tons of different storylines for backgrounds of every single body. May had a much bigger part. She had a relationship with Dottie, not that kind of a relationship, but a much more developed storyline where you got to learn more about May, her sort of. They kind of allude that she was a stripper, but not really. They call her a dancer at a specific nightclub, which, later on, she was like, I'm not going back to that. There's a whole other storyline with Dottie's husband that got explored with, of course, Gina Davis and Bill Pullman playing the roles. That got put away because it didn't really involve baseball per se. And there was a storyline with Dottie and Jimmy. So Tom Hanks and Gina Davis sort of getting into it. Maybe they do it, maybe they don't do it, kind of a thing. But that was cut because the test audience hated it. They were like, no 40s woman would do that. Not the kind that Dottie represents. Maybe Kit, but not Dottie. And finally, budget for the movie was $40 million. And for this kind of movie, it sounds like a lot, but the movie was very popular. It almost beat Batman Returns for that summer, which is fucking insane. And it made $132 million, which in today's money, it's about $350 million for a baseball movie. I think that's a lot. My chair keeps dropping, so you'll excuse me. And hello to Becky and Sander. Thank you for joining us on this solo night. All right, cool. If anybody's got anything to add, please share it in the chat, and I will share it with you. And no, Sander, I know you think I'll highlight it. I don't agree with it. Madonna sucks. It depends on what she's doing. In this movie, I don't think she sucked. I think I'll touch upon it now before we do our first game. I think that Madonna was cast to do a role which was very much in her lane, especially in 1992. Remember, everything kind of started in 1991. If you remember Madonna's history, at that time, 90, 91, 92, it was erotica was in the I don't remember when the album was published, but she was on her I'm gonna be naked as much as possible kind of a phase. I'm gonna push boundaries in terms of sexuality, in terms of how extroverted I can be in terms of a woman. And if you see May, it's sort of a Madonna now, but we place her 40 years before that. So they place a 90s Madonna in 44 or 43 or whatever it was. And yes, Evita came in a little bit later. And again, it played into her strengths, which Evita was 90. I'll check it. Evita was 95. Evita was 96. So definitely. Definitely. No. Actually, Evita was very much of the album after Erotica, which I don't remember what it was, which she had a lot of these melodies. And her movies really played off her albums for sure, because Ray of Light came in 97, 98, which was a sort of a revamp into like, oh, I'm a mother now, right? And with all the daughter stuff. Madonna is a tricky lady, a very tricky lady. But if you look at her films, especially in the 90s, very much within the lane of what she did in her albums, came off strong. Body of Evidence came out 93 or 94, which was like the height of the erotica phase, where she was like, I'm going to just be more Sharon Stone than Sharon Stone. Just, it's that sort of mentality, early 90s, which is no acting talent. Madonna's not an actress. I don't know who told you, but she's not an actress. She's a great singer. She's a great pop star, not an actress. Fight me on it. All right. Enough dilly-dally. Enough talking about Madonna and her cooch, because we'll discuss it during the movie. And hello, Griffin. Hello. Just in time to enjoy our first game of the night. Ladies and gentlemen, like I said at the beginning, this is an island of peacefulness. We talk movies. We don't talk politics. It is time for Missing Marquee. Missing Marquee is where we take 10 posters of movies, have their text written off, we display them, and you guys in the chat will have to guess which movie this is. This is pronunciation. Guys, this one, half tough, half easy. Message incoming. Buy me this when you go to the market tomorrow. Yes, wife, I will. I will. All right, enough dilly-dally. It's time to share screen with you guys and see what is happening here. Ladies and gentlemen, please tell me, what is this movie as I drink? Oh, Griffin. No, not buy me the market. Buy me this thing from the market. Do you know what thing she wanted me to buy? It's small leaf dough pages so we can have some nice rolled up fried egg roll. American Hustle is correct. American Hustle is correct. Come on, guys. Don't let Sander bully you into taking the crown. Come on. What is this movie? This was a awful, terrible movie that should not have been made, like a lot of the movies of that time. Not Supergirl. It is 2019. And another hint, this is an X-Men movie. There was only one X-Men movie that came out in 2019. It was awful. It is, yes, Griffin, it is Dark Phoenix. So bad. Yes, correct. This movie is not as equally as awful as Dark Phoenix, but it's not a very successful movie. Let's just say that. It also stars Mickey Rourke as the villain before he had all the operations. Just before he had all the operations, just some of them. It is not Team Double, but Double Team. Thank you, Kaladin. This movie is so well known for the boiled bunny in it, which was ridiculed and parodied in many other movies later on. Or at least, if not outright parodied, at least referenced. Fatal Attraction is correct. This is a movie I didn't particularly like. It's not a bad movie, but I couldn't connect to it. It's a much darker version, to my taste, to Labyrinth. And here we go. It is Pan's Labyrinth. I know they're not actually the same story, but, you know. One kind of reminded me of the other, where in Labyrinth, it is dark, but not as dark as Pan's Labyrinth. This is a guy who is actually English while playing Robin. And even says it in the movie. It is, of course, Robin Hood, Men in Tights. This should be easy. But surprisingly, not a lot of people have seen the movie. I, sadly, watched this movie. It is a musical, which I absolutely detest. One of the reasons why I hate musicals is this movie. It's not a bad movie. I just don't like it. Yes, Singing in the Rain. Of course. I don't hate the movie. I just don't like musicals. This is a tough one. Okay? This is a tough one. I can punch in a little bit just to make sure everybody kind of gets to see the face. If you don't know, just throw movies with Jimmy Stewart. You might hit one. You might hit one. I don't remember the name of the actress, by the way. The Man Who Knew Too Much, the second version. Very, very nice. Doris Day. Thank you. Thank you, Sander. Doris Day. That's the one. Movie with Jimmy Stewart. You told me. Yes, Griffin. Sanders got it. This is Thunderball. And last one. Should be good. Should be fast. Come on. You guys know this one. It's pretty easy. Not the best Bond movie? No, not the best Bond movie. No, Sander, this is not R.I.P.D. No. This is not R.I.P.D. This is the remake of True Grit with Jeff Bridges playing the John Wayne role, if I'm not mistaken, if I know my film. No, I know my westerns. All right, cool. Now, because Mr. Oh My Feelings is not here, I will ask the chat. What is your experience with A League of Their Own? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Before we kind of get started within the movie, as I try to get to a specific kind of scene. Yeah. I saw this movie for the very first time. I think I watched it on a VHS in 1992. I don't remember going to the theater to watch it. Now, it goes to the thing about me and going to the movies. When I was a kid, going to the movies was essentially down to an adult taking me to go and see probably a cartoon, and it's probably a Walt Disney movie. I said it many times before. My aunt used to take me to reruns of old Disney movies. So I actually did see Pinocchio, Bambi, Cinderella, Snow White, all these early Disney movies. I actually saw them on screen, like on a big screen. Not only in like a regular theater, like the ones we have now, at least the multiplex, generally speaking, it's not terribly large. It's like a large TV screen. I mean like a big theater with a huge screen. And my dad took me to go and see Who Framed Roger Rabbit, again on a relatively big screen back in the day. And I used to have a friend that his grandfather was an usher. So I actually got to see Back to the Future 2 and 3 in a theater. But that was like early days. Later on, only when I moved to like the big city and I was a teenager and I had a little bit of like pocket money, then I like went to go to see a movie every a couple of weeks, 3 weeks maybe. But everything else was VHS to me, or the movie was out for so long, I actually caught it on cable. We had 4 different movie channels. It's not like cable that like you have in the US or in Europe. It's sort of it's paid and all that stuff, and you pay for extra to have like movie channels. And we have 4 different movie channels, each with their own category, and we've got tons. So I just sat around after school watching tons of movies and late nights where I was supposed to be sleeping. One of those movies, I again don't remember if it came on cable or it was probably VHS rental that I saw this movie for the very first time. I knew it was existed. I just, didn't see the theater. Didn't see it in a theater. And the opening scene kind of threw me off because I knew it was about baseball in the 40s, and suddenly you get these old ladies showing up, and I was like, what the hell is going on? Now, for the longest time, and I'm dead serious, I thought that the old lady who plays Dottie was the only one. So I thought it was actually Gina Davis. Come to find out, it was definitely not. Definitely not. Because I didn't read credits back then. The movie's over. It's just like you flip on the channel or go to the bathroom. By the time the credit ends, the next movie comes up on cable, if it was on cable. Or if we're watching a VHS, I'm not watching the credits. It's stop and move to the next cassette or do something else. Madonna looked like the old lady. No, she did not. She did not. But it's a great way. It's a great way to introduce you to the movie, where the whole Hall of Fame scene and the start scene are sort of like a sandwich the entire movie. And if you think about, the movie was 4 hours long. Both those parts were a little bit longer because there was a whole thing between the two older sisters. At the start, you see it, and then at the end, you see it a lot more about the fact that Dottie doesn't really want to go there. Not because she's so like upset or anything. She still has a thing with her sister, even though so many years have passed. But it seems like something is missing, and I had a lot of issues with it when I came to do the criticism for today. Is they kind of hint on the fact that Dottie and Kit, after the baseball thing went away, never spoke to each other, and they only met back at the Hall of Fame, which I don't really think happened, but they imply that it did. A little bit of a kind of story gap there that didn't quite exist, and it's probably in that 4-hour cut. It's probably there. With all the work that she has done, she looks like an alien. Let's put aside movies and stuff. I don't particularly like women getting stuff done. Now, I know the Hollywood machine is pretty brutal, and I know, let's just say, show up for October. We'll get to that when we talk about The Substance, because that's coming up real soon. The thing about it is, all the Hollywood actresses that didn't get jobs done, I mean like plastic surgery, or at least visible plastic surgery, have all aged really gracefully. Case in point, Emma Thompson. Emma Thompson, a phenomenal actress, British actress, didn't get a lot done. And there's a movie that I've seen that I don't know if I'm going to cover or not, but it's very, let's put it mildly, very risque. And you can definitely see Emma Thompson fully naked at 70-ish plus. Let's just say she aged very gracefully. Now, we'll put that aside, and we'll never, ever talk about it until I actually review that movie. All right, baseball. So the two girls are playing baseball, and they already set up the fact that Kit loves to go after, high, fast ones. Now, if you know anything about baseball, that will tell you a lot. Back in the day, I didn't know what a fast, high one was. I just knew that when Kit was stepping up to the plate, she wanted to chase those high ones. And it's a massive, this entire scene is a massive setup for Kit winning her first, the first championship, which is great because I love these kind of things where you tell a story and you kind of lull the audience into something. And then when you need to, bam, the setup that doesn't really look like a setup, and it's mentioned again a little bit when she was playing for the Peaches, really hammers home when they did the World Series and Kit was the one batting and getting that high, fast one and actually knocking it almost out of the park to actually win the championship. But the girls aren't playing baseball. They're playing softball here at the start because that's what, ladies play until today is essentially. Not sure there is a league or not. But the whole competitive nature between the two has already been set up. Even when they're walking into the house and Kit is being upset about Dottie and the favoritism that is played in the house. And the sort of competitive nature is like, why are you walking faster? And they go faster and faster and faster until they run home. And it seems like on Dottie's side, it's very playful, but on Kit's side, it's very serious. And the whole sister thing comes up a lot. The rivalry between the two sisters always comes up. And it all leads up, again, it's a nice little setup to the very, very end where you see them kind of reuniting at the Hall of Fame. And then, of course, Mr. Ernie Pescadero comes in. And you can see him watch the girls play. Of course, Dottie hits home and wins the game and all that stuff. He hits home and he comes in. He's like, I need girls to play baseball. We're gonna pay you $75 a week. When I think Kit mentions that they only get 30 in the dairy and at the dairy, whatever they were employed. And he doesn't want to get Kit. He just wants Dottie. But Dottie says no. And Kit is like, if I can get you her, will you take me? I'm a great pitcher. And once he touches those arms, like, all right. And the thing about Pescadero is the fact that even when he approached Dottie initially, he says, we want good-looking girls to come and play baseball. And it's a throwaway line, and if you don't notice that he says it, you're sort of concentrated on the fact that Dottie doesn't really want to leave because of her husband, because of her commitments, because of whatever. And Kit really wants to not be in this small town doing small town things. She was really looking forward to getting out there, be recognized, either play baseball or do something else, just not be next to her sister because she feels like she's overshadowed. Pretty simple, I believe. And of course, she convinces Dottie to come over. They have that whole running into the train thing, which the fact that he's like, so you've decided to join us. That whole thing's when they literally almost missed the train. I think it's very not appropriate, but it is what it is. Madonna can do horror movies. That look of her. Could you stop about the Madonna thing? I get it. She did a horrible plastic surgery. She looks like a troll. And she'll end up like Zsa Zsa Gabor. But, it is what it is. But then, of course, like, okay, we're going to Chicago, right? No. We're going to Colorado. I love this bit. Whereas, like, Marla is hitting right and hitting everything, blowing out windows and all that stuff. And there's all of the boys there is like, okay, Marla, show him the left. She goes into the left and You see the groan of the baseball players like, oh no. Oh no. Didn't know you had a crush on her. Fun fact. There's a very famous poster where Madonna is hitchhiking on, I think it's an LA highway, naked, fully naked. A very famous poster, which I cannot bring up because I will get not only demonetized, I will get a guidance, like community guidance strike. It was on my, like on the door of my room because I liked it so much. Yes, I'm a big Madonna fan. I'm also a fan of naked Madonna when she was 25 or whenever she... It's right around the time she did this movie, by the way. What I do love about the scene is John Lovitz's demeanor when Marla comes up, because she was very far, you know. There's supposedly all the way at the other end of this gym. When she comes in, she's like very shy, and when she lifts up her head, John Lovitz goes like this. And this again goes back to the setup in when the two girls were milking the cows, and like, we're looking for decently good-looking girls to play baseball. And Marla is not the prettiest of them all. Zsa Zsa Gabor looked better. Stop it, Sanders. Stop it. Stop it. Stop interrupting me like I interrupt Gary on his show, please. So Marla lifts up her head. John Lovitz's character goes like this. I drop dead laugh on the floor every single time. And of course, the two girls, Dottie and Kit, was like, okay, we're not going anywhere because this is a great ball player. We need her on the team. And Pescadero was like, okay, fine. They take her out to Wrigley Field. She has this really elongated, it's like, Daddy, who's going to take care of you? It's like, don't worry, you go and play baseball. It's a very touching moment between the two. I did love it. And they show up to this field. Sander, this is just for you. They get greeted by all these different girls. Two girls who are definitely New York area, right? And of course, they test each other out very much like men do. As, Doris throws Dottie the ball. It nearly hits Kit, but Dottie grabs it with her bare hand, impresses both of them, and immediately they're, fast friends. Now, I don't have a problem with that scene. I actually do love that scene. But when you know the fact that it was written by men for women, that scene... To me, this is how men find friendships. Now, I haven't seen it with girls playing because I'm not in those spaces. If that happens, that's great. But I know a scene like that will definitely happen in a men environment where they test each other out. They scratch their balls and fucking throw curveballs into people's faces just to test you out. And when you pass the test, that's when you're fast friends. Rosie O'Donnell used to be really funny. Not after this movie. Right after this movie, she went really not funny. Touch their balls? Yes, Sander. Yes. And by the way, her outfit does not do her any justice. Let's just say that. So there's a whole montage of female doing some training, doing, all that good stuff. In some places, it actually looks good. And in some, it looks really ridiculous. Like really, really ridiculous. Now, you can tell that some of these extras did not know how to play. And some of these actresses who went undergo like training knew how to play, at least a little bit. Okay. Her body does do the outfit. Stop it, Sander. Stop it. I love you too. So Kit gets, drafted into the Peaches. And one thing I do want to mention on all that stuff, and there's a lot of like groaning and moaning of the women. It's like, this is a way too short of a dress in 1940s. Not only real, like to play with, but they played with this. So it is what it is. And this is where, like I said, a little bit of the feminist, this is 90s feminism, like girl power kind of a thing. Spice Girls thing coming in before the Spice Girls, of course. That women empowerment thing comes into play where the women groaned. And it's sort of like that collective Penny Marshall being like, oh, this is how it was. This is how they demeaned women. That, and also trying to give you an idea of how far and wide they had to go and find these women. Now, it's really hard for me to get that specific point, but the girl, Shirley Baker, she had a Southern twang to her voice, but they don't say where she's from. At least not in the theatrical cut. And I haven't seen the 4-hour cut, so don't hate on me. The fact that she's standing there and she doesn't know how to read very much of the time. People forget. It's not only in the US, it's also in other places where if you're in a rural community, you might not had a formal education, which means you might not know how to read, which is awful and, sign of the times. That's all. Groaning and moaning. This is a leak of their own. See, I know when Oh My Feelings is here, he sees all that and I move past it, but that's fucking funny. Yes. Yes, it is. Now, Jimmy Dugan. Jimmy Dugan is not a real ball player. There was no Jimmy Dugan in MLB. He's modeled after another player, which is sort of undisclosed. But many players of that time that didn't go into the war, like Joe DiMaggio and all that stuff, there were a few ball players that had a really good career, but a very short one because of alcohol. Not uncommon. And it was very not uncommon until baseball kind of went full professional and ball players started to get really, really high salaries. And they were still drunk, but had a little bit of longer careers. But Jimmy Dugan is sort of a modeled player of the time who was very successful for a very short time, was really great, and people remember him, but he got injured or and sort of fell into alcohol. I remember him being not only a lush, but a gambler too. It is written in his backstory, but it's not, I didn't see it on screen. I rewatched it today, about a couple of hours before the show. They don't really mention the fact that he's a gambler, more of a boozer. And in his backstory, it does say that he was a gambler. That's why he keeps saying that he lost all his money and he doesn't really have a lot of money. Not just because Harvey paid for everything. So he sort of, I destroyed my knees because I ran out of jump out of a hotel because of fire, which he started because he was a lush. And Harvey gives him sort of a last chance because he needs famous names to pull people to see this women's league. Joe DiMaggio serviced, yes, but he wasn't full on rifle. I think he was in Italy, but not super fighting. You can correct my mistake if I'm wrong. But this is what it is. And the one thing I did notice, I knew this scene happened. The one thing I noticed is something really awful and sort of foreshadowing. So Jimmy comes in, takes a 3-minute pee or whatever, which May times, which is odd. By the way, it kind of reminded me of the Green Mile in some aspects, but we'll put that aside. And then, of course, Betty Spaghetti comes in and she wants him to sign her husband's card. And what Jimmy does, because he is full on hangover, he takes the card and he rips it up in pieces. And up until today, and I'm dead serious about this, I didn't even make a connection. Today, I did make a connection. Betty Spaghetti's husband dies at one point, close to the end of the movie. And this is a total foreshadowing of what was going on because this is her husband, not her card. This is her husband baseball card of Jimmy, where he rips it apart and is like, oh shit. When her husband comes back, he'll be pissed, but her husband doesn't come back. Small little foreshadowing, but yeah. Yes, it took me at least 17 times to watch this movie to actually figure out and actually notice that, which I never noticed it before. So the girl come up to play first game. Dottie does the lineup after, all the girls kind of argue and bicker and all that stuff. And they face laughter and ridicule, and girls don't play baseball. There's even a guy who stands there and, being annoying until he gets hit by a ball. I want to get to that scene. Oh, there we go. It's like, girls don't play baseball. And then he gets hit and everybody laughs. And then everybody's willing to, at least the people who came in are willing to actually see these girls play. And like I said, they do well for their first game. As you can tell, Jimmy is there, scratching his balls, being tired. And later on, Mr. Bernstein, or Weinstein, don't remember the name of the guy, comes in and is like, oh, I like it. Jimmy, I liked it when the first 3 innings you were scratching your balls, and which was better than you laying there sleeping. I don't know if you were dead or alive or something. Paul Harley comes in with the Joe DiMaggio facts. He was in the Air Force and he did physical fitness training of the recruits and exhibition games a la USO. Yeah. I don't imagine real ball players coming into the U.S. Army and actually fighting, but keeping the morale up was really important. It's fucking brutal. Every war is brutal, but yeah. I know what balls the audience were looking at. Well, he did. Yeah, he did. Joe DiMaggio was essentially Bob Hope, but an actual talented guy. Sorry, Bob. Not sorry. So the girls play their first game. They win their first game. Very American thing to do. And of course, interspersed in this entire movie is those sort of reels, like old-timey newsreels that they had, which they didn't really have them on TV. They actually had them in a theater before a show or before a movie. And I like that it's interspersed of this whole thing. And then the joke about Marla is like, and this is Marla Hooch. Hooch. And she kind of waves. And essentially they filmed her from the back. And I know I kind of skipped the fact that before they started the league, they went into, we'll call it a montage of etiquette and sort of being a lady school, where at the end of it, the funny part was, with Marla, as they put them in a beauty school, and essentially at one point they were like, okay, we need to sort of like see how you look. It's like, okay, this hair is good. This one needs to be trimmed. Her eyebrows need to go, all that stuff. I want to get to Marla. So excuse me for and you get the sort of like John Lovitz flinching. And Marla does get a treatment, but the assistant at the back was like, what do we need to do here? And essentially the head lady is like, a lot of night games. I laugh my ass off every single time with this one. It's fucking hilarious. Hilarious. All right. So essentially, one of the girls, of course, I forgot her name. Let me see. I closed it. Can't believe I closed it. Where is it? Evelyn Gardner. Evelyn Gardner, who had little Stillwell because her husband said, I am not staying with this kid when you go on the road. So you need to take him on the road with you. And of course, Stillwell causes a lot of havoc on the road. So much so that he pisses off the driver, who actually throws dirt in the chaperone's face. And when she goes to wake up Jimmy Duggan, because he's absolutely fucking drunk out of his mind, he kisses her, and then he kind of wakes up from his slumber and washes his mouth with even more scotch. And he doesn't know what the fuck is going on. It's like, why are we not moving? It's like, Lou left. Who the fuck is Lou? It's like, Lou's the driver? And he's like, fine, I'll drive. And this is where the girls are like, yeah, we kind of put something in the chaperone's stuff. And she gets really ill, so the girls slip away because they're not allowed to have any smoking, no men, and no drinking. That's why they go into this, not out, I was going to say outhouse, but like a local tavern. They do some dancing, and of course, Madonna does the dancing because she is an actual dancer. And this is where we get a little bit of a taste of to me, it was a scene out of Sweet 16 or Pretty in Pink, where Dottie, who didn't go with the girls, needs to get a ride, but she gets a ride from this obviously 13, 12-year-old boy. And when they do get to the tavern, you're like, how about we go in the back and you make a man out of me? This is the most ridiculous scene. Again, Penny Marshall does know how to make a funny scene, but this is very much Big to me. Very much like Big to me. And with the same kind of result at the end of it. Because Dottie is like, no way. No way. She goes in. She's like, we need to go because, the chaperone is coming about. It's like, you don't want to, you don't want to be caught here. And she's looking for Marla. And Marla, because she drank a whole lot of liquor, is up there singing. And she actually gets to find a man, Marla of all people. And by the way, Megan, I think it's Megan Kavanaugh or Megan whatever. She's not like ugly. She cleans up nice. But she does get a man. Well, she marries him a little bit later. But of course, the next day, May comes in. Of course, they put Madonna in the same role where she's going into her strengths, especially at the time. She goes into the confessional, and the minister drops the book, and they hear it drop. And it's like, oh, that's the second time that book dropped. Because she is put in that position. May is the, all the way May. All right. Let me move a little bit forward. Dottie's in control of the team. They're playing. Marla's on the plate. Dottie, puts out, the whole signs and everything. And Jimmy comes around and is like, what are you doing? She's our best hitter. She needs not to bunt. She actually needs to hit. And they go into this whole back and forth until Jimmy's like, shut up. I'm doing this. I was like, and finally Dottie snaps because nobody told Jimmy what to do. And then Dottie snaps at him. It's like, you better act you better act like a manager, you lush. And this is the point where really Jimmy's first, because up until this point, it's like, girls don't play baseball. But then he goes into really knowing the girls and really appreciating the girls. And this is that first moment where he tries to put on plays and suddenly he sees the value of these girls playing baseball and he gets with the program. I'm moving a little bit forward. Shirley Baker, who, started to learn how to read. Of course, May gives her a dirty book, and she reads about the milky white breasts, where you could see as soon as she turns the page, like, ooh, I want to read a little bit more because this is interesting, even though there's a lot of protests around. And one of the things, and you can say what you want about Rosie O'Donnell today or even back then. I don't really care. The one scene that made her entire character really endearing and full of heart is where she's sitting around. She shows the girls a picture of her boyfriend who looks like a 50-year-old man. And she says he doesn't treat her right and blah, blah, blah. And eventually she tears up his picture and throws it away because she realizes, I deserve a little bit better. But because I'm ugly or I'm fat or I'm whatever, he's the only guy who actually deals with me. And then, of course, when she lets him go, suddenly she has a couple of nerdy fans in the audience simping for her. Of course, because this is a movie and some things kind of happen the way they should happen. But that scene where she kind of realizes, yeah, my boyfriend is a real piece of shit, but he is mine. Sort of that beaten woman syndrome comes into play. Again, a lot of the sort of feminist politics, I would like to say, are interwoven into this thing. There's a moment where a ball comes, one of the montages, a ball kind of gets thrown to the side and gets picked up by a black woman, where she throws, she overshoots Dottie and gets to the one of the other players. I don't remember who, but it's like, ooh, that hurt, you know, kind of like, oh, she can throw. That's a little bit of that old, oh, we're in that era. Even though this is not the South, this is the North, it's still kind of like they're not segregated, but they're not welcomed, kind of a thing, where there's a little nod to the African American community, especially, like I said, it's 92. It's the start of the 90s. It's all about acceptance and reconciliation, integrate everybody into not only real life, but in culture and movies and all that stuff. And it's a real big push. But again, it's not in your face. It's very subtle. That's why it's easy to get the ball rolling. And I think you can take that scene whatever you want. It's there for a reason. Subtle, and then they just move on with the story. So it's not, you don't get your head pounded in with some politics. Very subtle here and there. All right. Evelyn makes a mistake. Now, if you played any sports that had a coach, I wasn't in a sports with a coach. I just observed. Coaches, every different coach has their own method, their own thing, but all the good ones were like field generals. And one of the things they wanted was a cohesive unit that plays well together. And in order to do that, sometimes you need to really lay into a player where you give him the smack when he makes a mistake, like even a minor mistake, depending on the team. And this is it. It's like, why you cost us this, blah, 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 blah. And she goes into this crying mode because nobody treats her like that normally. And if they do, they get emotional because they're women. Big surprise. Men get emotional too. Not in that degree, but we do. And Jimmy's like, are you crying? Why are you crying? There's no crying in baseball. The most quotable line from the entire movie. There's no crying in baseball. There's no crying in baseball. Why? Because my coach laid into me when I was a kid doing stupid mistakes, and I didn't cry, so why do you need to cry? Evelyn doesn't stop crying. Did she give Madonna a book of erotica for the girl to read? Yes. Yes. Okay. I want to touch upon this because I did say there were 4,800 or so unpaid extras. Now, I don't mean the people in the back. Those are probably unpaid extras. I mean the guy in the penis-looking hat. The guy in a penis-looking hat is not an actor. He is one of the key grips. Now, the thing about this movie is there were a lot of people going in and out during the few months that they did the shoot. And sometimes they had people missing. So a lot of the crew actually had to fill in for people. Now, there's a moment after Betty Spaghetti leaves, they had a missing person on the team because they couldn't shoot with the actress. I think her name was Tracy Rayner. They couldn't shoot with Tracy Rayner because she couldn't be in the outfield now because essentially she gone away from the team to mourn her husband. Same goes with Marla Hooch. She got married. She's off the team. She couldn't play, but you still need a big roster out in the field playing because they shot a real game. So a lot of like people that were around got into being, in the movie. One of them was Penny Marshall's daughter, who filled in for essentially the Betty Spaghetti role. But also the umpire, who was a key grip in the crew, got into the movie. And yes, for many years to come, and this is Penny Marshall told that in that interview I mentioned, he is still mentioned as a penis head, which is not fun, but it is what it is. The movie credits say guy with a penis hat. No, it says umpire, and they have his name as if he was an actor, but he was not. So there's a moment where it kind of looks dire, right? It kind of looks dire. There's not a lot of interest in the team. And Harvey's man is like, look, girls, you have to, do a little bit better. Okay, the movie doesn't. Come on. Have to, there's a reporter here, and the owners are like thinking about closing the league, and I need you to perform well today. And this is where everything kind of get the ball rolling, as sort of like there's a reporter and a photographer there. There's not a lot of crowd there. As Dottie's looking like she's giving them a side eye. And when there's a pop-up ball coming, and it's going to be foul, but, hold on. Well, let me just get to... Oh, of course, I missed it. Of course, there's a moment where Madonna or May says, why don't we just, it comes a little bit later, say, what if when I slide to third, my shirt comes off and my bosoms, appear. It's like, and Doris is like, don't you think everybody's seen your bosoms by now? Again, slight shots from real life. But I do like that subtle little comedy. And when things get rolling with the slide, I'll let the movie run in the background. When stuff kind of happens and the reporters is there to capture that, that slide split that Dottie does. There. That's the real Gina doing the split, but when you see it from the back, it's actually her stunt double. And when you see that, and then, of course, the photographer get that specific picture, that's where kind of think the ball gets rolling. And of course, there's that moment where they're like, okay, if you catch a foul ball, you get, you get to kiss one of the ladies. And of course, it's one of the beautiful looking Georgia princess that kind of gets the guy a kiss. Awesome. That's all good and fun and craziness. And of course, why don't we just, my bosoms come out? And everybody groans again, even though it's a pretty good trick, but not in the 40s, though. Not in the 40s. And these are the two Doris simps that she finally gets after she tosses her boyfriend. Then later on, they gave her like literally chocolate and flowers, which is obviously. We used to joke on IMDb boards that the BSG movie, the plan is how the full frontal nude actor would get credited for the movie, And the poster came up with the guy with the penis. BSG? I mean, the movie's name is The Plan. What is the BSG? Let me know. All right. We're only halfway into the movie, by the way. I did mention about the storyline between Dottie and Jimmy. Oh, Battlestar Galactica. Thank you. There's a Battlestar Galactica movie called The Plan with full frontal male nudity. Look, I know I can be excoriated for this, for being a bad nerd, but I did not think the new Battlestar Galactica was any good. I watched one episode. I didn't like it, and I didn't watch it. So it is what it is. The whole Katie Sackhoff thing was above my head. I know she played Starbuck, which was a female swap, but didn't really care. So the whole Dottie and Jimmy Dugan thing, you see it here in the bus. Later on, of course, Dottie's the best player, and her connection to Jimmy is pretty obvious. He's like, he offers her chewing tobacco. You know, all the ball players do it. And there's a very endearing moment where they're both sitting there chewing tobacco. Like, she's chewing tobacco and spitting. And he's like, ooh, that was a good one. That was a good one. And of course, we get the scene where Harvey comes in. He's like, oh, this is wonderful. We're selling a lot of tickets. Like, too bad this is the last season. It's like, what? It's like, yeah, me and the owners like not going to continue this because the boys are coming back from the war. The war is waning down. We're not gonna, we're not gonna continue with this charade of women's baseball. And it's down to his side man who actually made the league possible. Is it Lowenstein? I keep forgetting. It's not Weinstein. Lowenstein. It's Lowenstein. It is. It's Lowenstein. He's like, but these girls know their stuff. They're playing really well. Why don't we just give them a shot? I mean, and again, he goes into like, oh, once the boys are back, the women in the factories go back, into the houses, again, into the whole 90s girl power feminism thing that was happening. Very much played into that. It's a throwaway scene, and it doesn't beat you over the head, but it sort of had to be there because of the times, because it's 92, because of all that was happening. And it seems like it really coincided with that transition between, again, I'm not going to go too into politics, but yeah, 8 years of Reagan, 4 years of Bush, the senior, and then we get a sort of a breath of fresh air coming in. He was not elected yet, but that Bill Clinton early stages were like, oh, this could be the next guy. And it came with very grassroots way of, I don't know what to call it, second wave feminism, whatever you want to call it. Very much so. But again, not beating you over the head, because the main thing here is baseball and comedy and levity, not serious, because the whole point of the movie is it tells you we're in serious times, but these women are out there doing their own thing where never before, it was never done before. And you can tell there's a place for these women out there playing baseball to entertain people and to have a place where they can play because they actually do love the game. And this is the point where Dottie and Kit really butt heads, where Dottie comes in with Jimmy's. Kit has a bad pitching game, and Dottie's like, okay, she's out. She's trying, but she's out. She's done. And Kit is like, fuck you. I don't know why you're here, blah, blah, blah. And Dottie says to Lowenstein, I'm done with this. I don't want to go anymore. I don't want to fight with my sister. And Lowenstein's like, you have to stay. You're the star player. Everybody's here to see you. You cannot quit. And Dottie's like, fine, trade me to a different team. I don't want to be with my sister. And of course, they trade the sister. Obviously, to put a little bit more conflict in this fucking game. In this movie, sorry. Right. I'm going to stop here for a while. I'm going to have a drink. And we'll play our second game of the night. Let me just pull it up and there and done. All right. Because we're in a small little group and Mr. Oh My Feelings is not here, it's going to be a rather short game. And you guys have to participate because this is, of course, Cinema Deathmatch.
Round 1, fight.
Cinema Deathmatch is where we take two movies, pit them together, and see which one is the best one. If there's no discernible difference between the two, both of them are good or both of them are bad, we fall into our criteria, which is Saturday evening, Friday evening, out with the boys, out with the girls, out with your significant other. Two movies in a vacuum. Which one will we pop in? Rudy or a fist full of dollars? Chat participation is most welcome. Now, I will try not to sway the chat so much. Rudy is a movie that we are going to cover soon. In November, we're going to do a lot of football related movies rather than baseball this month. But from these two movies, I would actually watch A Fistful of Dollars. Now, I'm not a big Western guy, but I do love me some spaghetti Westerns. I absolutely love the High Plains Drifter, the Unknown, the Blondie, as he was called later on. I'm going to have to pick A Fistful of Dollars. You guys pick him too. DK, if you want to watch a fucking great Western, it's a little bit slow, but a great Western, Fistful of Dollars. Strange Days, or a movie that we covered about a year ago, Tucker and Dale versus Evil. Now, I may be a little bit biased. I really like Tucker and Dale versus Evil. Never seen it before we covered it on the show. But of these two movies, I would pick Strange Days. Strange Days is a very strange movie, but it has a lot of concepts that were done a little bit better in other movies. But I really, really like it. It's very much cyberpunk to me. I do love me some cyberpunk, and I do like Ralph Fiennes in this. I do like him, so I'm gonna pick Strange Days. Your guys are like Tucker and Dale, pass. Strange Days, need to see Tucker and Dale. It's almost spooky season, correct? Almost, it's coming. I'm gonna pick Strange Days, ladies and gentlemen. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the original 90s movie, or Star Trek Generations. Now, a couple of years ago, I did a switch on this channel where I cut away a lot of the stuff that we were I was putting on the channel and left it strictly on reviews. One of the first movies I reviewed in the format that my channel is now currently is Star Trek Generations. It is not as bad as I remember it, but it's not a really good Star Trek movie. TMNT, however, which I have covered on a review for the channel, is fantastic. It is so good. It is funny. It has heart. It is just phenomenal movie. All right, last one because I really have to end in about 20 minutes and there's a lot more movie to go. Batman Begins, or the redo, so the live action, not really live action, portrayal of the Jungle Book. You guys know me. I'm not a real big fan of the Walt Disney Company or the Walt Disney products. There are exceptions, but on the whole, not for me. I wholeheartedly dislike all the live action, sort of like live action CGI movies. And the first one was this. This was a terrible remake. Now, Batman Begins, not my favorite Batman movie. I like Christian Bale in it, and I like the Ra's al Ghul thing in it, and the Scarecrow thing in it that you get. Not my favorite Batman movie. There are better ones. But it was a great start to the trilogy, which was really good in The Dark Knight. Like, it peaked in The Dark Knight. If you want to see us cover The Dark Knight, you're more than welcome. We did that a couple of weeks back. It was the sort of night and day between Batman Begins and The Dark Knight. But I will certainly watch Batman Begins over The Jungle Book. All right. Let's get back on form. Go. There. All right. So Kit got traded. And then, of course, we get the scene. One of the toughest, hardest, most saddest scenes in the entire movie. I think the saddest scene in the entire movie, where they do mention the fact that you don't want to get a certain telegram, and a telegram comes in and everybody knows what the telegram is. And the guy standing there is like, okay, I have the name here, but I don't know what it is, blah, 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 blah. And he couldn't do it. And Jimmy's like, give me this thing and get out. Because you really don't want to get the message from the bumbling buffoon that they sent. You really don't. And Jimmy, despite all of his sort of like bad traits, understands the gravity of the moment. When he walks, and because he had that connection with Dottie, when he walks, the camera kind of lingers onto Dottie because Penny wanted us to think that way. And at the very end, that swerve to Betty, because they're sitting together. And then that's where, like I said, to me, it only dawned on me today that like Betty's husband's a baseball card with Jimmy on it, and Jimmy tore it apart. And Jimmy's the one who gives her the telegram telling her that her husband died. And this doesn't only shock Betty, it also shocks Dottie. And Dottie has another minor crisis because she realizes, I love my husband and I don't want to lose him. And of course, in the midst of all of this, he literally shows up as she's thinking about him. And this puts a whole, oh, wait a minute. Not a good shot. Not a good shot. It puts a whole big monkey wrench. Because remember, the telegram reached the girls, or Betty, as they finished up the game that qualified them. They say to the playoff, and later on they kind of say to the World Series. There's a little bit of discrepancy there, which doesn't quite work, but they may have been a playoff. It's really weird because if you think about it, there were only 4 teams. What kind of playoff would they do? But let's just say they may have shot a playoff scene and cut it away because it's so obvious that Racine, where Kit went, and Rockford Peaches, where Dottie is, are going to clash because they have to. But the fact that the telegram came in and the fact that Dottie realized, I love my husband and I love this game and I love my husband, but I love my husband even more. And I don't want to play this game if he's dead. And then realizing, yeah, he may have been hurt, but at least he's alive. So we can have our life together out in the country, out in Oregon, where she comes from. And we're just going to start having children and all that good stuff. The family life, where she craved that family life, where Kit seemed to not crave it. And of course, in the Hall of Fame, she's like, her family was like huge. And I think Dottie only had like a one girl or whatever, or at least the one girl that you can see. And Dottie decides to go back to Oregon, where Jimmy comes in and he tells her, I thought you loved this game. And Dottie's like, no. I was like, there's a moment where he tells her she's a quitter and it's so unbecoming of a baseball player, because he talks to her like she's a ball player rather than a woman, which is his whole transformation. And he tells her the fact that it's hard makes it worth it. And that's another line from this movie. Of course, I fucked it up. I didn't say it the way he did it. But the fact that playing baseball is difficult, not hard, but difficult, makes it worth it when you actually win something. And it's true to everything in my eyes. If stuff isn't hard, then more people would do it. And because not a lot of people do it, because it's hard, it's worth it at the end when you do get the results. And like I said, it's not just baseball, it's almost everything in life, where even being a farmer is hard. At the end of it, you get really good crops if you do it correctly, if you put in the time, and if it is difficult, but you keep moving forward instead of quitting, and you get the results at the end. Just, sort of a life lesson. And of course, we get the more, let's just say it's a departure from real life, where Racine kind of wins and then the Peaches come back. And of course we get, I dropped it as soon as in the middle of it, but it's really hard because the newspaper moves so fast. It's the 3-3. It's game 7. It's down to the wire. Very, very much a sweet American good ending, or at least you expect sort of a good ending. And the ending is, depending on which side of the aisle are you thinking? Are you on Dottie's side or are you on Kit's side, right? What is your sort of perspective on life or perspective on the sport or whatever? And they do have a game. Even Doris's father comes in. And I have to, before we get into the reveal, they take a knee, they pray to God, and Jimmy, like Tom Hanks really had the almost all of the best funny lines in the movie where he drops down to the knees like, oh Lord, please make these ball players, play well. And by the way, thank you for that girl in South Bend. She called your name a lot during our sessions. I don't know what it is today, but that line with the girl in South Bend hit me like a ton of bricks, and I was audibly laughing out loud. So much so that my boy, who was sitting right there and was playing PC, complained that I make too much noise and it bothered him and his friends playing on Discord. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. But the fact that Jimmy, with his bad knee, took a knee to pray to God, where he doesn't seem like a God praying kind of a guy. There's a moment where he goes into the church and he tells the girls, we have a game. You can't be here in the church all day. We have a game. And he ushers them out and he looks at the cross and he was like doing this and he leaves. Is sex all you can think of today? Yes. Madonna is in this movie. You can see her right there. And then, of course, Alice, who all the girls complain that she stinks because she's so superstitious. And this is throughout the movie. Alice is like the one in the bus, like, oh, we're moving next to a graveyard. You have to cross your fingers or else you're gonna lose the game tomorrow and all that. So what? Sanders, stop. So Jimmy talks to Alice as if she's there, and then Dottie pops in. It's like, oh, you're here. Who said you can play? It's like, okay, you don't want me here? I'll leave. It's like, no. You can play. Which sets up the whole last game. She comes in. Kit is still pitching. May gets a hit. Dottie gets a hit. They do get like the lead. And Kit is so distraught. She is so livid. She is in the dugout in hysterics until the moment where she has to step up to the plate and get the win. Dottie goes to the pitcher. It's like, okay, she loves hitting the high fastballs. Just throw high fastballs. She'll try and knock them down and we'll just win the game and be over with. And of course, on that third pitch with 2 strikes, she hits the ball. And Racine wins only because Kit runs into her sister and Dottie, for the first time ever, she has the ball, but she drops the ball. And the question is, and by the way, again, saw it yesterday in the Penny Marshall interview. The interviewer actually asked her the question that a lot of people asked back in the day. Did Dottie let go of the ball in order for Kit to have the moment? Or was it the first time Dottie actually made a bad play? I'm in the camp of Dottie gave her sister a leg up. even though it's kind of shitty to think so, it's like, no, Dottie won the game, but she couldn't let her sister be so upset. So she let her win the game because it was way more important for Kit to win the entire thing. And Dottie knew she was better. I don't know where you guys stand. To me, Dottie did it on purpose to give it to her sister because she knew how important it was to her. And to me, that whole exchange kind of gets summed up with her and Jimmy kind of talking, right? At the end of it, it's like, look at how happy she is, right? And then, of course, on the outside, she sees Kit signing balls for little girls, and Dottie's like, yeah, she's going to continue on. I am not. So she's going to be sort of the face of, and she's suited for this role because she really doesn't want to go back to Oregon. She wants to stay. And Kit even says, I'm going to just stay here where I'm somebody rather than being out there and being a nobody. And when they do hug and, walk away, we move on to the last portion where we kind of left Dottie looking at the people. And then, of course, we go back and Doris and May are there, and Doris throws the ball to Dottie and she catches it with one hand, and it is Dottie. And they have that whole reunion. They kind of talk about the old days. And let me just say, the girl playing Gina Davis, I don't know if they did like an ADR with changing her voice, because she has Gina Davis's voice. The girl playing Kit, the older Kit, they don't really have the same voice, but this lady probably had an ADR. I could not find any information about this. All I know is for years and years and years, I thought it was actually Gina Davis. Come to find out that is definitely not, because there's actually a different actor's name playing the role. But they did a good job for matching Gina Davis with this chick. They really did. And of course, this whole, like, the bookend of the movie, they shot it way after. It was like the end of the entire shoot. So that whole matching of the actors thing, where Gina Davis came in a little bit late, they had time to find an actress that kind of looked like her. And again, not sure about the voice, but I want to say it's Gina's actual voice, but I don't know. And that is about it. They sing that song that Evelyn wrote, where Evelyn died. They had that reunion with Stillwell that you just saw in that shoot. They found an actor that was like so perfect to do the older Stillwell, where he has a really chubby face, and did the whole "you're gonna lose," which the little boy just did. Is, it's all interconnecting and all good fun. And we had that reunion between the two sisters. Like I said, they do hint the fact that they haven't been keeping up with the family, but it's not overtly said. And that is about it. Ladies and gentlemen, I know I kind of skipped a lot of parts, but it is what it is. Solo podcasting for this show, not fun. not a great idea, but it is what it is. The show must go on. I didn't want to cancel today after I had to cancel the last month with twos better than ones. I felt like I was cheating you guys or anything. It's my feeling, not yours. At least I felt the need to give you the best show that I can give you. All right. Next week, we are keeping with the baseball theme. And we're moving past 80s and 90s straight in the 2010s, because next week we are covering, and I want to confirm this. Yes. Next week we are covering Moneyball with Brad Pitt and Jonah Hill and Philip Seymour Hoffman and many others. No Madonna next week. No Madonna next week. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So go rewatch Moneyball or watch it for the very first time. It's a chance for you to, explore these movies. So go watch Moneyball, and we'll see you next week. Because remember, guys, hope is a good thing, maybe even the best of things, and no good thing ever dies. Sander is happy. I don't know if you're happy from Moneyball or the fact that we don't have any Madonna next week. If you're allowed to tell no Madonna. Fine. No Madonna movies. Damn. What am I going to do for Evita? Never mind. I'm not going to cover this movie. Not anytime soon. Remember, guys, hope the good thing may be in the best of things, and no good thing ever dies. We'll see you next week. You're still here? It's over. Go home.